some people are saying that now, we're approaching Simchat Torah, we're approaching October 7th, and some people are wondering, how can we celebrate Sukkot? How can we dance with the Torah on Sukkot after what happened? What is your response? Both of you, I'd like to hear. What is your response to that?
You want to go first?
You go first.
Okay. Yeah, I think my response directly ties into the attitude I spoke about earlier, which is it's not my words. This is the Jewish way to respond to tragedy. Life and time are a very linear and very one-dimensional thing. It's obviously much easier to stomach somebody who died after a ripe old age and a happy life than it is a 25-year-old whose life was snuffed out by cruel Hamas terrorists in the battlefield. And of course, emotions are real, and of course, according to the Torah, we are supposed to mourn. And we mourned for Moses, we mourned for Aaron, we mourned for also the smallest, least of the Jews who were not nearly as great as the footsteps of Moses. We mourned for everybody, and Hashem gives us that commandment and that time, and mourning is a critical, and it's a human behavior and aspect. But as a nation, there is no mourning. As a nation, we do not sit and mourn. As a nation, with each continued tragedy and loss, again, it's Hashem telling us to move forward stronger. This is throughout our history. Throughout our history, we're coming back from Tisha B'Av now. You can read the words of the prophets which say, there's actually, as we know, each Shabbat after the temple was destroyed, we read another passage of nechama, of comfort, of almost resuscitating the nation after it's been dealt this lethal blow. We were kicked out of our holy temple, that we lost Hashem's presence in this world, and since then, we've been spiraling and kicked out of 109 countries in the exile. And we're sitting here, this week, losing soldiers. It's going on till today, until Mashiach comes, may it be very soon. But the nation's response can never ever be to, even for a moment, to sit and wallow. On the individual level, it's not only important, it's not only needed, it's a mitzvah. To sit there and mourn, and you don't go to pray, you don't sing, you don't go to concerts. It's important you sit there and you go through the motions because you are a human being and you lost somebody close to you, and that's important. But as a nation, as an army, as a unit, as a family, as a community, as Dolev together, the response after somebody was killed, the government said we're building 2 new roads, and we're going to have 2 new roads that are connect Jerusalem to this place to show the Arabs, to show the terrorists among the Arab population, which happens to be a majority, that you can't stop our actions, you can't stop our existence. We're going to add 2 new roads. And the next day afterwards, obviously to comfort the family, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of those lined up with flags, not only Israeli flags, but posters of support of, I'm going to take on a new good deed for this person. I'm going to continue his light forward. That is our response as a nation. And so I think it's quite the opposite. This Simchat Torah has to be the happiest Simchat Torah in our nation's history, because that's the way Hashem wants us to go forward as a nation. That is our call. That is the nation's response to tragedy. It's to go forward, just like I remember, and with this I'll close, a few years back when there was that shooting in a Poway synagogue, and the Chabad rabbi actually lost his finger. And his response afterwards was, I think it was around Hanukkah time or Pesach, the amount of piluyot, the amount of activities and events and curriculum that worldwide Chabad synagogues did was unbelievable that year. I remember our synagogue in Potomac, I was home then, I don't know why I was home, I guess before the army times. But I remember we did a Hanukkah candle lighting, and the Pesach Seder was huge. That is our response as a nation. That you try to put us down, we will replenish ourselves, we will strengthen ourselves twofold. And I really hope that the nation takes that message to come into the Simchat Torah. I know I myself, whether I'll be in Gaza or Lebanon or a training base or on uniform or out of uniform, I will be dancing the hardest I ever have this Simchat Torah.
Wow.
I
Really incredible.
I really relate to that approach. I mean, I think that when we look back to the week, like after the 7th of October, and we remember that as much as we were, scared and trying to figure out like who's okay, who's not okay, what actually happened, there was a lot of awareness around don't post videos, don't share videos, don't try and watch videos if you know that there's some sort of something that's hard to watch, something that's not appropriate, like something very violent. Don't go in and let Hamas scare you. It was a lot of like psychological warfare. And I think that when we think of that part and how important it was to win on that field, the psychological warfare aspect, I mean, if we have a sad and gloomy Simchat Torah, it's letting them win on that battlefield. And I think it's very interesting that one of the ways that I like how people explain what trauma is is where it's you have some sort of experience, and then you become fixed on only one interpretation to what the situation was, or what something involved in the situation was. Let's say someone was experienced a car crash, so their immediate like connotation or
interpretation.
yeah, interpretation of like anything related to driving to a car is like fear. I'm gonna crash again. I'm gonna kill someone. It's all around that. There's no other option. They can't see the situation as I'll drive my kids to school. I will go for a trip. I'll be okay. Everything will be great. There isn't any way to understand it like other than it will be bad. Someone will die. And if we had a trauma in Simchat Torah, and we did, and we understood Simchat Torah as something very traumatizing, very painful, so much loss, and then we go ahead to the next Simchat Torah this upcoming year, and we stay in that headspace, we're just sinking into trauma and we're not treating ourselves. Giving Simchat Torah a new interpretation, understanding that what happened doesn't affect what will be in a bad way necessarily. We can grow from it, we can change it. That's healing. So I think that's our mission as a nation.
Wow, beautiful.